go through how to do the lab Factors that Affect Erosion virtual lab. You can find this on your Inspire Science course. So go to Rapid Identity, click on Inspire Science. It should take you to the course, and you're going to look for something that looks like this: Virtual Investigation, Water Erosion, and so when we click on that, it should open up this lab. The lab begins with an explanation of water erosion and deposition. So I'm going to read through this real quickly. You can certainly follow along on your assignment. You can see I did not include it in here, so we want to make sure that we get the background information. How do certain factors affect the erosion of soil by water? Water erosion is the process by which water wears away Earth's surface materials and moves them from one location to another. When rain falls, it soaks into the ground, evaporates, or becomes runoff. Runoff is the major cause of water erosion. Factors that affect runoff include the amount of rain, the time span over which rain falls, the slope of the land, and the amount of vegetation on the land. The effects of erosion may be immediate or they may take years to become apparent. There are different types of water erosion. Rill erosion begins when a small stream forms during a heavy rain. The stream carries away vegetation and soil. If a stream frequently flows along the same channel, rill erosion can evolve into gully erosion. In gully erosion, rill channels become wider and deeper gullies. Water can also erode without forming a channel. For example, when rain falls on a flat area, water accumulates and loosens and displaces surface soil. Sheet erosion occurs when large amounts of water flow along the surface from higher to lower elevations, washing away layers of soil. Thousands of acres of farmland are destroyed by erosion each year. Embankments surrounding and supporting roads and buildings are also eroding. Precautions that can reduce these losses include terracing a hillside and planting vegetation to prevent the topsoil from washing away in heavy rain. Managed properly, soil is a renewable resource on which crops can be grown and structures built. In this virtual lab, you will measure the amount of sediment collected from water runoff to compare the effects of 3 variables on water erosion. Objectives: identify some of the factors that affect the erosion of soil by water. Compare the influence of different combinations of factors on the erosion of soil by water. Procedure: make a hypothesis about how variables such as the slope of the soil, the presence or absence of vegetation, and the intensity of rain affect the erosion of soil by water. State your hypothesis in the journal. Now, if you're in class, or even if you access the Google Doc at home, you'll be doing yours in this form. You can do this in your journal as well. So let's talk very briefly about the journal. Okay. The journal is located at the bottom of this page. Let me go ahead and hide this for now. So you can see the buttons at the bottom of the page. You have a journal, and that takes you to where you can write. This is for submitting your assignment through your online textbook. Once again, we are using the Google Doc for this, but you may choose to do this as well. Here's where you would write your hypothesis in the online journal. Now, what we're going to do for this is you're going to choose one of the factors for your hypothesis. And as a group, as a table group in the classroom, you're all going to pick a different one. There are 3 different ones, so you can spread them apart. What I mean by that is you're going to choose an independent variable from the problem. Here's the problem. What effect do slope gradient, all right, that means how steep the angle of the slope is of the land. Presence or absence of vegetation is another variable that you can test. And rain intensity is the 3rd variable. You'll be testing all of these, but only doing a hypothesis on one of them. So for your hypothesis, write it in what's called if-then because format. To do that, you're going to start by writing the word if and then determine which independent variable you're going to use. The independent variable is a thing that you're testing. So you would choose either if the angle of the slope, also known as slope gradient, increases, then the amount of erosion will do what? Will it increase, decrease, or stay the same? And then give me a reason why. Another variable you can choose is if the amount of vegetation increases, decreases, increases. If the amount of vegetation increases, then the amount of erosion will do what? Increase or decrease or stay the same, because why? And the last one you can choose is if the rain intensity increases, then the amount of erosion will increase, decrease, or stay the same, because. Choose one of those three and write your hypothesis. Next, to test your hypothesis, you will choose settings for each variable and measure the amount of sediment in the runoff from a rainfall. First, choose the slope of the embankment by clicking on the black circle of the slope adjuster. So let's go back to this. I'll close the journal. And here is the slope adjuster. I'm actually going to mute or at least turn this down. It's quite loud. Okay. If I click on this black circle, you can see it goes from 10-degree slope to, if I can click on it again, it should go to a 30-degree slope. So we have a 10-degree slope right now. And we're on the procedure. I can scroll down here. The diagonal arm moves to either 10 degrees or 30 degrees. And you're going to record in the table the slope gradient. Now I'm going to have you just test one of these at a time. So if I go back to your assignment, slope gradient in degrees, I'm going to go ahead and make all of these so they center, and this is a 10-degree slope. Okay. And then you're going to have the vegetation and rain intensity set. So let me go back. The vegetation right here, yes, there's vegetation. Rain intensity is low. Let's leave it at that. You can fill in your chart. Then we're going to cause it to rain. And then I'm going to pick this up to collect the runoff. Okay. So now I'm going to collect, if I can do this. Okay. I placed it in there to collect the runoff. So the runoff is either low, moderate, or high. For this setup, the runoff is low. You would put that in your chart, fill in the slope gradient, the vegetation, the rain intensity, and the sediment level. You saw I had a little difficulty with that little water collection thing. So, do your best with it. Analysis questions. Analyze the results of your experiment. Explain any patterns you observe. Did the results of your experiment support your hypothesis? Why or why not? I know there's not a lot of room to write, so just do your best. Number 2, draw a conclusion. A conclusion answers your original question based on your data. So how did the slope gradient, presence or absence of vegetation, and rain intensity relate to the amount of water erosion that occurred on the slope? So on this one, I want you to choose the variable that you chose. Okay. Which variable do you think has the strongest influence on the amount of water erosion that occurs on a slope, and why? And then finally, what would happen if the angle of the slope was increased to an angle steeper than 30 degrees? What would happen if the amount of vegetation were cut by 50%? So what do you think, what effect do you think those would have? So that is your lab for today. Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.